Former Transnet electrical engineer Francis Callard told the Commission the media was fed the wrong information. He says the media was told that the total cost for the acquisition of locomotives from CNR would be 9 billion rand. Callard says this information was discovered during a financial analysis which was intended to investigate what motivated the cost escalations in the acquisition of over 1,000 locomotives.
This gives us an indication of the breakdown of the prices, which is what in fact we were tasked to achieve. How did we arrive at these final prices? I will jump to a final point in my statement that I was disappointed that Mr. Leher did not share this, because with this information, why did we have to go through an exercise? But from perusal of these spreadsheets, and particularly here, one picks up a number of anomalies. And I would take one through those anomalies, and perhaps those anomalies are problematic.
Well, for more on this story, we cross to our reporter Mbalenhle Mthethwa, who's standing by, who's been observing the state capture inquiry proceedings. Mbali, what were the anomalies that Mr. Callard was referring to?
Good afternoon, Nompu. Before I answer that question, I just want to take us back to what the first witness and what Dr. Popo Molefe had to say about the state capture project. He described it as a system that basically weakened Transnet's procurement processes as well as government in the interest of external entities, and he was actually referring to, internal people internally, executives internally working for the interest of external companies, that being Gupta-related companies. We also heard Mohammed Mohammadi also talking about governance and its importance with regards to protecting the financial integrity of an organization. And what we've generally seen and what we've heard from the witnesses who have appeared before this commission is how governance and procurement processes were weakened in the interest of benefiting external entities. These could be anything from Regiment's Capital as well as China South Rail, and all of these systems were weakened and they were disguised under the acquisition of certain services from external companies. Now, going back to the spreadsheets that Francis Callard was referring to, he concluded his testimony earlier today, and he was talking about a financial analysis that they had done in January last year. And basically the reason they even did this financial analysis was to get to the bottom of the cost escalations that were involved in the acquisition of 1,064 locomotives. Now, this is something that has featured quite prominently here at the Commission, and we've heard various witnesses attesting and talking about these cost escalations. We know that the original amount was 38.6 billion rand, and the amount escalated to 54 billion rand. Now, we heard Francis Callard referring to 49 billion rand rather, and well, there's no clarity as to whether it was 49 or 54, but the number that we have heard prominently among different witnesses is 54 billion rand, and that's the amount that we'll stick to. But he was talking about anomalies in these spreadsheets that he found, and because they were investigating these cost escalations, they were looking at the foreign exchange hedging and all of those things. Now, we've heard that the foreign exchange hedging was already considered, and there was no reason to escalate the cost to 54 billion rand because they were already included in the original amount of 38.6 billion rand. However, he says that there was no logical explanation to the forex. He saw there were no logical explanations to the cost escalations, and what he flagged as anomalies were foreign exchange calculations, and he says that some of the foreign exchange numbers were inflated, and those were some of the anomalies that he pointed out to the Commission and brought the Commission to know about. Now, he also mentioned that the spreadsheets, he was denied access rather to the spreadsheets. And he says that he was asked by Advocate Silo if, he was denied access to these spreadsheets because of the information they had and because someone was trying to hide information from him. And he answered yes. Now, he explained to the commission that a certain Yusuf Leho, who is a financial manager at Transnet, was the person who had denied him access to these spreadsheets with such crucial information that we've just heard from the commission.
Very quickly, Mbali, before I let you go, what can we expect to happen after the lunch break?
After the lunch break, we have a new witness who had started giving testimony about the move, which is called the Durban, the move to Durban. And he's just going to give details as to, how his company benefited from the move to the relocation, rather, to Durban. It's called the Durban relocation. So he's just going to be giving details. He is part of a minority shareholder that benefited from that relocation. He also forms part of China South Rail and China North Rail. And how we know about these two companies is that those are the two companies that were also that Transnet acquired locomotives from, and this forms part of the 1,064 locomotives. Now we know that the 1,064 locomotives were acquired from can we say a consortium, but various numbers of organizations. These include General Electric's China South Rail, China North Rail, and as well as Bombardier. So he's going to be attesting to that.
Okay, Mbali, we're going to leave it there. Thanks very much. That was my colleague Mbalenhle.